We're starting with culture and intelligence. All right. So guys, देखिए हमने क्या बात की थी? We have already spoken about this, that intelligence is an interplay. Fine. Interplay of what? It is an interplay of nurture and nature. ठीक है? किसका interplay है? It is an interplay of what? It is an interplay of nurture and nature. Fine. Which means what? Which means that culture also plays a very important role over here. Culture means kya? Culture is something that you are born in. Thank you. Culture means what? Culture means the surroundings that you are born in, isn't it? Now, don't you think this will have a huge impact on how you are, how your intelligence is, isn't it? Okay? So, let us understand what is the impact of culture on intelligence. Okay? Chaliye. So, what is one of the major characteristic feature of intelligence? It basically helps you in adapting to your environment. Okay? That is one of the major features of what? Of intelligence. That it will help you adapt to different situations. You've seen, how human beings have adapted to different situations. We adapted to COVID, we've adapted to 50 degrees also. We've adapted to bitterly cold winters also, isn't it? How? It is because of our intelligence. Fine. So, culture is, intelligence is something which allows us to adapt, isn't it? And what is culture? Culture is the environment, right, in which we are trying to adapt. Okay. So, I'm sure you have seen, matlab hum jab, we've seen a few situations where we feel that we will not be able to adapt, isn't it? That how can people live like this? But people do live like this, isn't it? You and me, we are privileged, guys. I'm standing here teaching you all, wearing my best clothes possible. I have an air condition under my control, right? So I'm living a very privileged life, right? You are studying from your home. I'm sure you are also living a good life, isn't it? But there's so many people who live in very worse conditions. There's so many people who clean our sewers, right? Can you imagine doing something like that? Not really, isn't it? You would be like, how is this possible? How can someone live like this? But there are people who live like this, isn't it? So what is culture? Culture is basically a context, fine? It is a context for intelligence to develop. So it is our culture, it is our environment, which basically provides us like a boundary, okay? It is what? It is a boundary in which our intelligence is going to develop, and is going to develop in the same direction as our culture, है ना? जैसा culture है, वैसे ही development होती है, fine? Okay. So, there is this Russian psychologist, Vygotsky. He basically argues that culture provides us with a social context in which people live, grow, and they understand the world around them, isn't it? And I think that's absolutely true. Everyone has their own understanding of the culture, right? And sometimes we have our understanding on the basis of culture, right? I can give you an example, a very simple example. Like, for example, in Western countries, children doing a part-time job is something which is a very well-respected thing, है ना? It's something which is very well respected. It's something which is very mandatory actually, right? Parents don't save up for their children's college, etc., isn't it? Parents don't, send their children money, okay, for a lot of things. So taking up a part-time job is something which is very acceptable, where it is very acceptable in the Western countries, right? Now, you try to do this with your parents. You try to tell your parents that I'm going to take up a part-time job and I'm going to work and I'm going to support myself. First of all, India doesn't have the culture of a part-time job, right? And if you take up a part-time job, you tell your parents to do, parents that you are taking up a part-time job, they will go all gaga over it, right? They'll be like, you know, what do you have to worry about? I am looking after you. You only worry about your studies. I'm here to look after the finances. You don't trust me, and all of that. Is going to be this whole emotional tangent, right? Why? This is what cultural difference is. So our intelligence and our understanding of a lot of things depends on the culture that we are born in, isn't it? At some culture, having a part-time job is respected. In some cultures, children having a part-time job is not considered, it's not considered good, isn't it? So that is what I'm giving you an example, that this basically provides you, fine, it basically provides you with the context in which we live and grow and understand the world. All right. Now, yahan pe, in your book, there are certain examples which are given, which tells you that there are countries which are very technologically advanced. They have a different set of intelligence. All right. And countries which are less technologically advanced, they have a different kind of intelligence, and that is what we will be focusing on. All right, let's see. So there are many theorists, all right, who have regarded intelligence as what? Intelligence as a product of the culture, right? Don't you think? I'm sure this is, I'm sure कि आप ये समझ पा रहे हैं, this is absolutely clear to you that culture, or sorry, that intelligence is a product of your culture, right? The kind of culture that you are born in, that is what is, no, I would not say decide your intelligence, but yes, it will have an impact on your intelligence, right? A huge impact, in fact, right? So it will have an impact on you. It will have an impact on your intelligence. Okay. So that is exactly what we are talking about here. Okay. It is a product. So according to a lot of psychologists, intelligence is what? Intelligence is the product of your culture. Fine. Now, for example, we have Sternberg's notion of contextual intelligence. We've already seen the triarchic theory of intelligence, right? We've seen the contextual intelligence of Sternberg, right? We don't need to get into that once again. But what is that implying? Isn't that implying that culture again plays an important role? Fine. Vygotsky, who was given the definition of culture, he also believed that cultures, like individuals, have a life of their own. They grow, they change. Fine. Acha, let me give you an example of this. This is a very good example I'm going to give you. See guys, both culture and intelligence, don't you think they are interdependent on each other? Like, just like our culture is going to determine our intelligence, don't you think our intelligence is also going to determine our culture? There was a time in India when child marriage, sati, or widows not getting remarried, etc., was the norm, was actually a part of the culture, right? But as and when our intelligence grew, as and when our intelligence expanded, right? What did we do? We changed the culture, right? We are now more on the Western end, don't you think, guys? We're so westernized now. How did that happen? That happened because of our intelligence, okay? So intelligence and culture are very much interdependent because culture will determine our intelligence. At the same time, intelligence can also determine the kind of culture that we're going to shape. We can bring about changes in our culture like we have, isn't it? Yes. All right. So Vygotsky believes that there were certain elementary mental functions. What are elementary mental functions? These are your general intelligence, something which we are born with, right? Like crying, sensitivity to smell, walking, running, all of these things are primary and common to all. Doesn't matter the culture, it is absolutely common to each and every one, right? But these high order mental skills, thinking, understanding, learning, perception, etc., these are very much influenced by what? These are very much influenced by culture. Okay, chalo. Now let us see, there's a difference, fine. There are certain countries which are very technologically advanced, right? So you would see that they have very different child rearing practices. Their child rearing practices are more of independence, right? Making the child more independent. They focus on generalization, abstraction, technological, analytical skills, isn't it? They focus more on that, fine? They focus more on scientific innovations, okay? So the kind of behavior or the kind of intelligence they promote can be called as what can be called as technological intelligence, right? Like for example, let's take a look at America, okay? America has robotics classes. Nowadays you have it in India also, but America, you will see robotic classes. Why? Because that is a world which is very much, running towards AI, which is artificial intelligence, right? So you need that kind of child rearing practices where the child is supposed to be independent, okay? The children start sleeping in their own room from a very young age there. Why? Because they need the child to be independent. They need the child to take independent decisions, fine? Their parents do not have any right to say anything about the child's marriage. They can marry whoever they want. The parents are more than welcome to attend, to not attend, it doesn't matter. Fine. So they promote what? They promote technological intelligence. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the African and Asian countries like India, we're still a developing nation. I would not say we're still a developing nation now. We're an economy of 4 trillion. We're the fourth largest economy of the world. So yes, but I would say that we're still in the developing stage because there are a lot of things that we still need to work on. Fine. So you would see that the child rearing practices that they focus on is more of what? Is more of understanding, is more of learning, perception, living together. Collectivistic norm is something which is more and more, you can say, ingrained in us, isn't it? It is more and more ingrained in us. I don't know about you guys. I have lived in a joint family, guys, okay? So I never knew the concept of cousin, okay? मुझे नहीं पता था that my sister is my sibling and the rest of them are my cousins. I did not know that. We were 4 brothers and sisters growing up together. So if anyone would ask us, how many brothers and sisters you guys are, and we would always say 4. 2 sisters and 3 sisters and 3 sisters and 1 brother. That is what we used to say, right? Why? Because we did not have that concept. Q, because we were born with this collectivistic notion. Our intelligence system is something like that. Our intelligence system is something which focuses on collectivization. It focuses on growth of all, right? There's this, we have a slogan in India, Vasudev Kutumbakam, which means what? The entire earth is our family. So we want to see the entire earth grow, not just one, okay? So is this clear?
अब एग्जाम की तैयारी को और बेहतर करने के लिए हमारे चैनल को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें।